Okay, good morning. So let us solve these problems. Here you will see the corrected version from that you saw it in the homework, but I will also tell you that if you didn't have access to the corrected version, you yourself, if you have a good understanding, need to understand there is something missing in the problem. Okay? If you didn't, it means that your understanding is not as deep that I expect you to have. Okay? So let us go and read the first problem together. So consider the following graph. The curved line is part of the graph of a third degree polynomial with only one zero. Yes? So I am telling you, don't worry about if this is coming back and hits this one. No, this is not happening. The sum of the squares of the coefficients of this polynomial is equal to. Okay, so be careful about these things. Okay, because I saw one student could solve the problem completely but put the polynomial there. So I don't know how should I emphasize, because I have put this word in bold, red, and italic to mention that I don't want the polynomial, I want the square of the coefficients. Okay, this problem I will solve it in two different ways, and I want you to learn how to do it yourself as well. So let us try to solve the problem together here. So what is the best way to do for this one? We had this in the course. That was A-level question in the book, if you remember, I told you. So you see that these 3 points are on grid points and on one horizontal line. But the problem is that I have only 1 0 here, which is not available to me, because I told you you cannot guess what is the approximate value and start your calculations based on your approximate guess. And that was the reason that the next problems were ill-designed. I will tell you about them. So what was the topic? Do you remember? We had one similar problem of this. I told you I took it from your book, and when we did the discussion. And now I changed it a little bit. In your book, this bounce was a little bit higher like this. So the only change that I made to this problem is to draw it like this. Yes? So in principle, if you understand what is going on in that problem, you should be able to solve this problem as well. Another twist that I made, some people are careless, one grid on the x-axis is 0.5. Just putting one number, it tells you that the scaling on the x direction is 0.5, 0.5 every time. But on the y direction, every grid is 1 unit. So that is also another twist that it was not in the book. I made it because sometimes they ask you these type of questions. The scalings are different. Okay? So if I go to the board, I will call the polynomial that you see is px. But do I know the zeros of px? No. Yes, if you look back, if I ask you what is the zero of this polynomial, you show me here, but there is no way for me to read it. Even if I can read it, this is just one piece of information. So you know that for finding a third degree polynomial, how many pieces of information you need? Not 3, 4. Because it is ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx. So a general third degree polynomial is of this type. If I don't say anything about the third degree polynomial, you write it in this form. This is the most general third degree polynomial. How many free parameters you see? A, B, C, D, 4. So I need 4 pieces of information if I want to fine tune my polynomial precisely. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. Even if you can read this point, it is not useful because that's just one piece of information. So, and then you immediately see, did I give you 4 pieces of information somehow? Yes, because this grid point is readable. That grid point is also readable. That grid point is also readable. And that grid point is also readable. So this question is designed correctly because somehow it gives you 4 pieces of information. And you need 4 pieces of information. These are not the solutions of the problem, but I want you to learn how to think about the problem. Yes? Is that clear? Okay. So how should I solve the problem? Do you remember the trick we used in the lesson? That was shifting up or down the graph, yes? You can shift the graph down or up in a way that you can read the intersection points of the shifted graph with the x-axis. If you understand that, I hope that it is easy for you to understand. Which shift is that? Can you tell me? Do you think I should shift downward or upward? Upward. Yes, how much? 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because if I shift 4 units up, this point will go here. This is readable? Yes, it will be a grid point. This will also fortunately be shifted here. Is this readable? Yes. And this one will also be shifted here. Is that readable? Yes. These will be the zeros of the shifted polynomial. Okay? So what does it mean? It means that if I shift this polynomial, how many units? 4 units upward, it becomes a third degree polynomial for which I can read all the zeros. Okay? Can you read the zeros after shifting? This point will go here. So this is 1, 0. What is that? Be careful. This is minus, this is 0.5. This is minus 0.5. So that is minus 1. So 1, 0 of the shifted polynomial is minus 1. What is the other 0? Minus 0.5. Thank you. So it is minus 0.5. That is another one. And what is the other one finally? 0.5. Do you agree? So that's also 0.5. So be careful. Not p of x. P of x after being shifted 4 units upward, it becomes a third degree polynomial with these 3 numbers as zeros. So it means that what should I write? I put a, which I don't know, but I write x minus minus 1, x minus minus 0. So let me write, okay, so let me write minus 0, 5, and finally x minus 0, 5. If you don't understand this one, this is the most important part of the problem. Is that understandable for everyone? Okay, so let me do some simple algebra. Be careful, I am looking for p of x. If I want p of x, then I have to move 4 to the other side because I want to have my p of x. So let me do some simple calculations. Minus 1 is just plus 1. And if you don't mind, let me write a half for 0, 5. So it becomes x plus a half, because minus minus. And then that becomes x minus a half. Then do you remember, I moved 4 to the other side, so it becomes minus 4. That's it. This is your polynomial. But one piece of information is still needed, because a is not given to you yet. Okay? So how can I use that? I have to use another piece of information given in that problem. Okay? Be careful. I want to make sure that you understand. The blue curve that you see here is the curve of p of x. Yes? What other piece of information is available? This point. It means that if x is 0, the y coordinate should be minus 2. Yes? By looking at this, you understand that p of 0 is minus 2. This will allow you to fine-tune the last unknown. So what does it mean? It means that if you go to p, replace every x with 0, the output is supposed to be minus 2. So let us do that. A, 0 plus 1, 0 plus 1 half, 0 minus 1 half, minus 4. This is supposed to be minus 2. Let us solve the problem now. This is just simply 1. This is just simply 1 half. This is just simply minus a half. So let us multiply them. 1 times 1 half times minus a half becomes minus 1 over 4a. And let me move minus 4 to the other side. It becomes 2. And then what is a? Is that right? So a is minus 8. Then I put it back into my equation. I have my p of x. This is your P of x. Is that clear? But the problem is, if you go back to the problem, the polynomial is not wanted. You are supposed to find the sum of the squares of the coefficients. So there is another twist to the problem. Then you have to do some simple algebra by expanding things, yes? So it means that if I want to know the sum of the coefficients, the sum of the squares of the coefficients, I have to write it in the standard form so that I can read the coefficients. When I have the coefficients, I square them and add them up. That will be the answer that you are supposed to hear. If the problem seems a little bit lengthy, because that's homework, in principle, you can solve one problem at a time, leave it and come back to the rest later. Okay, so let us do that. What is the best way to multiply? You see a conjugate pattern here. It is better to use the conjugate pattern. No one will force you. You can multiply this by this, find the answer, multiply the answer here. But if you want to do it more efficiently, that it is good to learn how to do things efficiently, I will multiply these two first, and then multiply by this, and minus 8 and minus 4. Yes?
The question, why do we not move the -4 to the right hand side?
I did it. I moved 4 to the right.
Okay, I got it. I see it now.
No, but yeah, I wrote it from here, and then for P, I moved it before doing any other things.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so if you don't mind, let me clean this. So how can you do that? So let me continue here. So I would write minus 8. I keep this part, and then the next one becomes the conjugate rule. The first one is squared minus the second one is squared, and then you have minus 4. And then I have to be patient and multiply this once more. X cubed minus 1 over 4x, and then 1x squared minus 1 over 4 minus 4. Be patient, one more step. This one, I will prefer to write in a standard form. So let me write this one first. And then multiply minus 8 by minus 1 over 4 becomes positive 2. And multiply minus 8 by minus 1 over 4 becomes positive 2, but minus 4 is negative 2. So this is your polynomial. Yes? And then what I want, the question mark is minus 8 squared. The coefficients are these 4 numbers. Minus 8 squared plus minus 8 squared plus 2 squared plus minus 2 squared. This becomes 64 plus 64 plus 4 plus 4. 130. So that is the number that you are supposed to put in this box. Is that understandable? By the way, don't think it is a hard problem. It was similar to the problem in the book. The only thing that I did it, in the book they want the polynomial from you. So for example, if you stop here, that's okay. But in this problem, I'm asking you to find the sum of the squares of the coefficients. So it means that you need to go one step, find the coefficients and square them. And I hope that this is lengthy, but it is easily done. So I don't consider it any twist to the problem. Any questions? Okay. One way to solve this problem, I intentionally want to solve this problem in a different way, that you can at least compare the methods. Because you don't need, if you don't realize that you can shift up and down, again, how many pieces of information you need to answer the question? 4. And that 4 is given to you. So even if you forget about the idea of shifting up and down, and if you are stubborn, in principle you can do the calculations by brute force. So there is no twist in it. But this is the creative way of doing it. So if you don't mind, I think it is also instructive to see the problem from a different perspective. Okay. So if I go here, what pieces of information I have? I have this point, that point, and that point, and that point. Yes? So for example, let us do from left to right. How can I write this? So what I would say to myself, I would say that, okay, I am looking for a third-degree polynomial. Okay, so any third-degree polynomial can be put in this form. This I know. So I need to look for 4 pieces of information. So can you tell me how can I translate this piece of information? This number is what? This is -1. So it means that if x is -1, p of -1 is how much? -4. Is that understandable? So this means that p of -1, please check my calculations. P of -1 is -4. Do you agree? That is one piece of information I can read from there. What is the next one? What is the next one? This one is -1/2. And the answer is again -4. So this means P of -1/2 is again -4. And finally, P of what? 1/2 is again -4. Do you agree? Because you see, this is also 1/2, but the height is still -4. And one more piece of information. P of 0 is -2. Yes? P of 0 is -2. How many pieces of information you see? You see 4 pieces, yes? And then how many unknowns you have? You have 4. It means that in principle, if you are patient and good in algebra, you can solve a system of 4 equations in 4 unknowns. And then you find A, B, C, and D. But it becomes very longer than the method that we used. Okay, so let us do it. I want you to see how it goes. So what is the meaning of this? It means that if I go and replace every x with -1, the answer is supposed to be -4. So let us do it in my head. Instead of x, I put -1. So this becomes -1, this becomes +1, this becomes -1, and this becomes d. So this is one equation. Do you agree? This is one equation. The second equation means what? You see what happens. I have to put -1/2 here. So it becomes -1/2, -1/8a. Because if I raise this to power 3, it becomes -1/8. The next one becomes 1/4b. The next one becomes -2/c. -2/c plus d. This is also -4. Yes? And then the next one, what happens? It becomes 1/8a plus 1/4b plus 1/2c plus d is equal to -4. And finally, this simplifies things, yes? P of 0 is -2. What does it mean? It means that if I replace x with 0, on the one hand, the output becomes d. On the other hand, the output is -2. So this means that d is -2. Yes? And then you see, I have to go back and find the other ones. I want you to see that this method is not preferable at all. Even though if you were writing it in the exam, you get the full points. But it is not that useful. Let us try to see. Let us do something in our head. So what happens to the system? This becomes -a plus b minus c. Instead of d, I put -2 and I move -2 to the other side. It becomes -2. I put -2 here, I put it to the other side. It becomes -1/8a plus 1/4b minus 1/2c. I move -2 to the other side. And then the next equation is 1/8a plus 1/4b plus 1/2c. -2, I move it to the other side. Yes? And this is in principle, you should be able to do it. This is Ma3c course. System of 3 equations in 3 unknowns. If you solve them, find A, B, and C, D is already found, and then you have it. By the way, do you see the confirmation? What is my D? -2. So at least one of them, we are happy, that's correct, okay? But we have to continue if you want to. I don't know, is there any fast way to do it or not? Yes, there is a fast way to do it, you know? Can you see? It's not that horrible. So how, the standard way, do you know? You need to find C, put it here and there, and solve a system of 2 equations. But always look for shortcuts if you are as good in mathematical calculations. So do you have any offer for me to do it faster? Yes?
You add the second and
Third one. That was a coincidence that it works here. Because if I add them, this one and that one are gone. This one and that one are also gone. I have a quarter of b plus another quarter of b, which becomes half of b. And on the right-hand side, minus 2 is minus 4. So what is b? Is minus a. I am a little bit okay because this is my b. So far, so good. Yes? Is that understandable what I'm doing? Yes or no? Okay. So now that I have b in hand, then I put it here. This becomes minus a minus c. b is minus 8. I move it to the other side, becomes 8, so it becomes 6. And then I have to put it in one of them. It doesn't matter which one. If you don't mean, let me put it here. b is minus 8. Divided by 4 is minus 2. Minus 2, I move it in my head to the other side, it becomes 0. And this becomes 1/2 c. Then I have to solve this system. Yes? In order to solve this system, I multiply this by 8. It becomes 8 plus 4c is equal to 0. And then add this with that one. If I add this one, a's are gone. 4c minus c becomes 3c is 6. So c is 2. C is 2. Yes? So I know c, I know b, I know d. The only thing that is left for me is a. But of course, I know c is 2. Put it here. Minus a minus 2 is 6. 8. So a becomes minus 8. I don't know which one you prefer. Okay? The first method is organized, you know. Here, I was lucky that the system was simple to solve, if you could see it. Otherwise, you have to suffer to solve that horrible system. Yes? Is that clear? But let me tell you also how to do it in GeoGebra, if in case you have access to GeoGebra in one part of the exam. Okay? GeoGebra will not be able to solve the problem in this way. By the way, ChatGPT can. If you ask this problem from ChatGPT, probably it will solve you in this way, not in that way. Even though for computers, I was guessing that they will choose this method because this is the most natural way for computers to do. But let us try to check GeoGebra. If GeoGebra is available, what do? I want you to know that as well. You go to CAS view. We don't need graphic view. Okay, so this is the way that I do it. I want you to learn it as well. Okay, so what I will do, I will put this information in GeoGebra and ask GeoGebra to solve for me and find A, B, C, and D. Okay, this is one thing that I am using this as an excuse to teach you how to do it in GeoGebra. So what I will do in GeoGebra, I will go to CAS view and I would write P of X. I don't put equality, be careful. I put semicolon equals to. It means that I am defining polynomial P of X for GeoGebra. And the polynomial is A, I put a space, x to power 3. Then I would come down, B, x to power 2. And then I would write C. Am I right? Yes. And then finally D. This semicolon that I put there, here, defines this polynomial for GeoGebra. I press enter. This means GeoGebra now knows about P of X. But now I want to solve a system. As you guess, starting is solve. But you have to choose this one. List of equations, list of variables. Okay? And remember that list in GeoGebra is included in curly brackets. Okay? So this is one thing that you need to remember. Any language has its own syntax. So this is the list. If I want to write the list, I put a curly bracket. What is the first equation? Now GeoGebra knows about P, so I don't need to type so much. You don't need to type this. You just type P of minus 1 is equal to 4. Okay, so let me go back. So this becomes P of minus 1. Please check my typing. If it is wrong, just immediately scream yes. So this is the first equation. I put comma, and type the second equation. What is the second equation? Is this one. Third one and the fourth one. Yes? So I would type P of what? Minus a half, am I right? Is equal to minus 4. And then, comma, P of 1 half is equal to, again, minus 4. Do you agree? And then finally, P of 0 is equal to, what was that? Minus 2. Okay? But then you come outside, after comma, list of your unknowns or variables. Again, because it is telling you list, you have to open curly brackets. Okay? And then what are my unknowns? One of them is A, comma, B, comma, C, comma, D. So these are my variables that I want to find. So I go outside and press enter. So A is minus 8, B is minus 8, C is 2, and D is minus 2. So that's one efficient way of using GeoGebra to solve systems. Okay? So you type your polynomial once, and then you can calculate things. Is that clear? Everyone agrees? Hopefully understandable. Okay, so this is something that you might need these skills in national exam, the part D1 and part D2. Okay, so then let us go back to the problem, the next problem. So that is why the next problem, some of you solved the problem. This is the twist that I added later, but this probably was not visible to you. So you might see this. Consider the following graph. The curved line is part of the graph of a fifth degree polynomial p of x. This information was hidden from most of you, unfortunately. Then the sum of the coefficients of this polynomial is equal to this. Okay, can you see? Now I hope that you see that this problem is flawed. Yes, if I didn't give you this piece of information, I hope that you understand that you should send an email to me and say, Bobak, this is not correct. Yes? Do you feel that? That because feeling that is part of understanding here. Why this is wrong? Because as far as I see, how many pieces of information you see here? One grid point, and the second grid point, and the third grid point. What was the degree? The degree is fifth. So how many unknowns you need to fine tune? 6. How many of them I have so far? 3. But another twist. This one is double, and that one is also double. So this is 2 pieces of information, not 1. This is 2 pieces of information, so far 4. And 1 piece of information, 5. So how much I need? 6. And then you see that, or might be I am old, I cannot see any grid paper, any grid point there. So you cannot guess. If you remember my lesson, I told you that you are not allowed to guess. That should be a grid point given to you exactly. So by just looking at the problem, in principle, you could have sent me an email that, Babak, this problem is not solvable because I have only 5 pieces of information available on your graph, but I need how many? 6 pieces of information. So you have to provide ones. So whenever, this is also this is the deeper understanding of the problem. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now this is why when I corrected this, because the exam was already open, this correction was, I could view the correction, but not you. And it is, to be honest, reasonable, because during the exam, if I start changing the exam, it conflicts, yes. Okay, so now, hopefully you can solve this problem now. But if you haven't seen this piece of information, I expect you to do the starting part. The starting part is extremely simple. So, what should I do? Remember, can I read this number? Again, the twist is this is 0.5. So this is minus 0.5, minus 1, minus 3 halves, and minus 2. That point is minus 2, but minus 2 is a double root because of tangency. And 2 is also a double root because of tangency. but 0 is just a normal rule, a normal root, yes? So that's it. So can you finally tell me what should I write for p of x? What should I write? P of x is equal to what? 0 is a normal root, so I would write x minus 0. Yes? But minus 2 is a double root, so I would write x minus minus 2, but power of 2. And then 2 is also a double root, so I would write x minus 2 to the power of 2. And as always, I have to put this 8 there. And this is why you see that problem is stated in that way that you saw is wrong. Because there is no other piece of information for you to find a. For you, this is the best you could write. Okay? So let us try to make it a little bit more visible. Yes? But now, can I find this last piece of information? Last piece, missing piece? Yes, because an extra piece of information given to you in the problem, p of minus 3 is minus 25. So what does it mean? It means that p of minus 3 is minus or plus minus 25. What does this mean? It means that if you go to your p, replace x with minus 3, the output will be minus 25. So let us do that. I go here, replace every x with minus 3. A is there, times minus 3, times minus 3 plus 2 to the power of 2, times minus 3 minus 2 to the power of 2 is supposed to be equal to minus 25. But this is easy, yes? Minus 3 plus 2 is minus 1. Minus 1 to power 2 is just 1. This is minus 3. This is A. Minus 3 minus 2 is minus 5 to the power of 2 is positive 25. And it is equal to minus 20. So I don't know. For example, this minus sign and that minus sign are gone. This 25 and that 25 are also gone. So what is left? On the left side, you are left with 3a. On the right side, you are left with 1. So what is your a? A is 1 over 3. Yes? And then I put it back into my equation. I finally found my p. So p of x is equal to 1/3 x plus 2 squared, x minus 2 squared. The way that you saw it in the homework, unfortunately, you couldn't find a. But if you understand the problem, you have to stop here and say there are no other way that I can find a. Yes, is that clear? Okay, but the problem is not finished yet. What is wanted in the problem? Then the sum of the coefficients of this polynomial is what? Okay, now I want to hear from you. How can I find the sum of the coefficients? How should I find the sum of the coefficients? Answer in 2 seconds. Okay? If you don't answer in 2 seconds, it means that I don't know what to say. Answer in 2 seconds, even 1 second. What should I do to find the sum of the coefficients? Yes? Expand. Thank you. Okay? Tell that. Expand, because then I will understand that you are understanding me. Okay? So it works. But if you are doing math, always be lazy. Might be there is a shortcut. Okay? So in a matter of seconds, you need to know how to, the answer is expand. You expand, simplify, read the coefficients and add them, as we did more or less in the previous case. And by the way, if you insist to expand, what do? Of course, you can raise it to power 2, it becomes 3 terms. If you raise it to power 2, it becomes 3 terms. And then 3 terms times 3 terms becomes 9 terms. But again, follow that. You have to be lazy. If you are lazy, instead of doing this, what do? Can you see that? What do I do? These powers of 2 can be written as a power of 2 outside, and then x minus 2, x plus 2 will reveal the conjugate rule. So it shouldn't be hard for you to understand that this is 1/3 of x squared minus 4 to power 2. Yes? Okay, can you expand now? I mean, if you insist to expand, this is better than just brute force expansion. This becomes x to power 4 minus 2 times the first one times the second one plus the second one to the power of 2. Then I will expand again. So I want you to understand it is not hard. Yes? So this is the expanded version of your polynomial. Yes? And if I ask you what is the sum, what do? The sum of the coefficients. Are you with me? So this becomes 8 over 3 plus 1 over 3 becomes 9 over. Yes? But there is nothing wrong about it. If you write it, you will get the points 100%. But if you remember, this is why I want you to practice on your memories. I told you one exceptionally simple way if you want to find the sum of the coefficients. If you forget, you can still solve the problem. Yes? But if you remember, you can do it much faster. How many of you remember I said something about the sum of the coefficients of every polynomial, not just this polynomial? Yes? P of 1. P of 1 is always the sum of the coefficients. Do you see that? Because if I give you any polynomial, for example, ax to power 4, for example, yes, if this is your px, if I ask you what is a plus b plus c plus d plus e, this question can be translated of p of 1. Do you agree? Because p of 1 becomes exactly the sum of the coefficients. So if the sum of the coefficients is wanted, and if you have this in your memory, you can do it a little bit faster. Instead of doing expansion, what do? I just calculate what? P of 1. Yes? So what is P of 1? This is 1/3 times 1. 1 plus 2, 3 to the power of 2 times 9. 1 minus 2 minus 1 to the power of 2, 1 again. So this answer is simply 3. So the solution becomes so simple. But it doesn't mean that you cannot solve it if you forget about this. Yes? Is that understandable? Yes or no? Okay. Now we go to the next problem. Unfortunately, this also happened for the next problem. So I need to remember that when I open the exam, if I do some corrections, I have to duplicate and then send you a new code. It does not work like this. So that is the third problem. Okay? So this picture you see, the curved line is part of the graph of a third-degree polynomial. If the sum of the coefficients of this polynomial is equal to 22, determine this polynomial and write it in a standard form. Either use the equation editor, type your complete solution below, or use the scan work feature. I will show you this after this is finished, to upload your complete solution to exam.net under this question. Okay? But before doing that part, let us solve it here on the board. So I want to, this part again is missing from you, unfortunately. Okay, so how can I solve this problem? Any idea? Yes, please. Very good. So that's a combination of double root and this shifting method together in one problem. Okay? So this is not in the book, I agree with you. But you shouldn't expect to only be able to solve the problems that you have seen, because none of the questions, most of the time, you see it in the national exam. So you have to prepare yourself to have a good understanding, to be able to think and solve the problem. Okay? So I don't know how many of you could see it. You have to trust me on that. If you put time, it really works. Don't think, in the beginning, you put time, you cannot solve. Another time you put time, you cannot solve. It might be you get disappointed. There is nothing to, there is no, why should we be disappointed? Then what? You want to give up or what? So you have to find a way, so you have to fight back. So let us go here. So can you complete it for me? Shift how much in which direction you are thinking about. It is not one, be careful. Two. I'm saying that. No, don't say one, because here this is just 2 units. So if you shift 2 units downward, what will happen? This point will go here. Do you agree? Something like this. Yes? And this point will go where? Here. Something like this. Yes? And what is the degree of the polynomial? 3. Again, review. How many pieces of information I need? 4. Yes? 4 pieces, because that's a 3rd-degree polynomial. If I do the shift, this will give me a double root, because it becomes tangent. Yes? So it is 2 pieces of information. Yes? And when you bring this down, it gives me another piece of information. So far, 3 pieces of information. And another piece of information is given to you in the problem by telling you that the sum of the coefficients is 22. So you have it. So this way of thinking is important. Otherwise, you need to be able, or you will be only to solve the problems that you have seen. Exactly. And that's not going to work. Okay? So now let us go to the board. This polynomial, I call it P of x, but I know that if I shift it 2 units downward, then I know a lot about this polynomial. Yes? You see, if you shift it this point will go here. So what is my double root? Can you read it for me? What is the double root? -1. And what is the normal root? 0. Okay, so what should I write here? I would say px minus 2 after being shifted 2 units down, then I have one single root 0, and I have, what was that, -1, a double root. Yes? But you also know that you have to put a there. If you are solving the problem using this trick, there is one missing part, a is already there. Is that understandable? Okay, so if I ask you what is P of x? What is P of x? This is just x, ax, minus 1 is +1. And then I move -2 to the other 2. You see, the version that you could see, you have to stop here and understand that something is missing. Yes, because you know that I have to give you another piece of information. And if you check the question, there are no other grid points. I cannot use this grid point because the x-coordinate is guessing. I am not allowed to guess. None of them are clear. So I have to give you another piece of information. The way that you could see the problem, you have to stop here. Yes? Yes? So, now can you read the problem and finish it? Because still the problem is not clear. I need to find A. How I use the last piece of information there? 1. You just learned, yes? P of 1. Even if you forget, what do you do? Let us say you forget it in the exam in May. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't solve the problem. So in that case, what do you do? Yes, so you need to expand and multiply. And then, but you need to somehow know P of 1 is the sum of the coefficients. Okay, so if I know that P of 1 is equal to 22. Yes, 22. So it means that if you go here, replace x with 1, the answer is supposed to be 22. Yes? So this becomes 2 to the power of 2. 4 times a. And then what is a? 4a is 20. A is 5. Okay? But what I want you in the problem, write it in the standard form. So it means that you put 5 there. So p of x becomes 5x times x plus 1 squared plus 2. You have to put it in a standard form. So I have to expand. X squared, 2 times the first one times the second one, and then plus 2. And then I multiply 5x in. So it becomes 5x cubed plus 10x squared. And then I have 5x plus 2, yes? This is what I expected you to write for this question. And sorry for inconvenience. Yes, that might I have caused for some of you. So this homework, well, I agree, it was a little bit technical. But this is all of it. No, I don't think that there are other questions of this type harder than these. Of course, in mathematics, people can be so creative, they can sit down and probably find a better problem. But the problem is that if you understand conceptually, you can solve those problems yourself as well. Any questions? Yes, so using GeoGebra was one tip. It was important to know how to solve systems in case you want to use it. Because in national exam, no one forces you to do on GeoGebra what they want you, okay? You have to answer the question, but if you have a good skill in GeoGebra, might be you will be able to use it properly. So if you don't mind, let me stop this recording. Is the question related to this problem?
Yeah, I'm just asking. Or it's about how would you solve this in GeoGebra?
No, this I cannot solve it in GeoGebra.
Sure.
In GeoGebra, so the reason is that I need...
Just say that a plus b plus c plus d.
Yes, but one part of it is up to me. Writing this is up to me. GeoGebra will not be able to do that. ChatGPT definitely will be able to do that. We can test it later, okay? But because this is a logical step to take. Yes? So it is not like the previous problem. The previous problem was a system of equations, you know? But here, this is not just related to the equation. That application that you're using should be aware of the notion of a double root. Otherwise, they cannot write that. Unless I put it as double root and ask GeoGebra to solve it. Exactly as I did before, which is not fun at all, yes? And then in that case, definitely it will work. Okay, if you don't have any questions regarding this, I will end, but you can ask questions. Do you have any questions regarding the homework? Okay, so thank you. I stopped recording here.